From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
It's one of the most talked about topics right now. Vaccines and when are they going to become available? I'm Annie Johnson with more coming up on everything involved in making sure it happens.
And later, an update on a small plane crash at the airport in Dillon. Authorities have now released the identity of the Bozeman pilot.
Well, our view of the studio from above here, 6:31 for you on your finally Friday morning. We are 2 weeks from Christmas. We might see a few of our snowflakes fall today.
We might,
It's a big, exciting day.
The temperatures are cold this morning.
It is cold. I think that you're right. That's the headline on it.
I think so. I don't think the snow is going to really be a game changer for us, but it will change the game if you're traveling on some of the area passes, especially into the evening. Temperatures into the single digits this morning. Not a lot of wind. That helps. You look at the models. This is one of the models. Most of the snow is going to be held up in the mountains. We'll see a few snow showers try to develop into a few of the valleys, but it is going to be limited accumulation. Temperatures today into the 20s. It's going to be chilly but pretty. I'm trying to paint a beautiful picture there.
I like it.
Yeah, it's like Bob Ross. Imagine, if you will, a happy little snowflake.
Happy little trees.
Yeah, we'll talk more about your
snowflakes falling like old friends.
I don't know what to think about that statement. More on your forecast, of course, in just a bit.
Well, we'll look forward to that. On Thursday, the Food and Drug Administration panel recommended authorization of the Pfizer vaccine for COVID-19.
MTN's Annie Johnson joins us with how Gallatin County is now preparing for the mass distribution process.
Behind me is the decontamination building for the Central Valley Fire Department, but soon it may be the place you go to get your COVID-19 vaccine.
It will be similar to like the voting process. So there'll be locations throughout the community, throughout the county, I should say, where if you live in a particular area, that would be the closest place for you to go.
Go to get your COVID-19 vaccine if you choose to do so.
What we're looking at right now is securing facilities at places like the fairgrounds. We're looking at using fire stations that have drive-through bays, possibly looking at churches throughout communities.
This building is currently used by the firefighters to decontaminate everything they come in contact with on their everyday calls, but they're getting ready to make the transition to use it for vaccines.
It's a county-wide endeavor. All the paramedics included that have been trained will then work with the health department and set up locations for the vaccine administration once the vaccine has been delivered and is available.
Healthcare workers will likely get the vaccine first, but it brings up the million-dollar question, what about everyone else?
We'll be looking after the first of the year to start receive vaccinations from the government to really put out in the community. And so probably looking at a 6-month timeline. We hope to really be in the community and having points of distribution set up and hopefully getting those vaccinations out to everybody who wants one.
For those who do want to get the vaccine right now, it's just a waiting period. Reporting in Gallatin Valley, Annie Johnson, MTN News.
Well, the U.S. Surgeon General is in Montana this week to assess the state's COVID-19 situation.
MTN's Jonathan Ambarian reports he said there are positive signs, but people need to continue what they are doing to slow the spread.
On Thursday, U.S. Surgeon General Jerome Adams joined Governor Steve Bullock for a news conference at the Montana State Capitol. Adams noted the country is currently going through some of its deadliest days for COVID-19, but he said he sees reason for optimism.
Montana has proven that these mitigation efforts work.
Adams said he's pleased to see that the rate of positive COVID tests in the state has gone down in recent weeks. He credited that to people taking steps like wearing masks, distancing, and keeping gatherings small.
We know more than we ever have before about this virus, and we know statistically that your efforts are working to slow the spread.
However, he remained concerned that many Montana hospitals remain close to capacity.
That means if you aren't scared of the virus, you still may not be able to get a hospital bed if you have a heart attack, if you're in labor, if you get into a car accident, because there may not be a bed available.
Adams acknowledged some people have questions about the health guidance they hear, since experts have changed their advice as they learn more about the virus. But he said data now shows clearly that masks work to limit the spread, and that the new vaccines will be safe and effective.
We will have more data on the safety of these vaccines at the point of administering them to people than we've had for any other vaccine in history.
Bullock said the state expects to get its first shipment of vaccines next week once they are federally approved. They hope to have 60,000 people receive a first dose by the end of the year, starting with healthcare workers. Adams noted tribal communities have been hit particularly hard by COVID. On Friday, he'll travel to the Fort Peck Reservation for the opening of a surge testing site. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
Now, Governor Bullock said nearly 300 healthcare workers from outside Montana are now contracted to work in the state to help hospitals under the current strain.
Other headlines now: a Bozeman man is behind bars after Bozeman police say he fired a handgun several times from his balcony into a residential neighborhood. Oliver Marion was charged yesterday morning in Gallatin County Justice Court with court documents showing it started just after midnight Wednesday morning in downtown Bozeman. Officers responded to reports of Marion making threats on East Mendenhall Street, acting manic, firing a 9mm handgun from his apartment balcony. Officers say Marion became extremely hostile when they arrived, throwing objects over the balcony and yelling profanities. A roommate was able to get the gun away from Marion, and court documents show Marion had to be tased to be arrested.
Honestly, Your Honor, and then when the cops arrived, he was not compliant with the cops. It's a pretty lucky situation that the defendant or somebody else was not shot in this situation. The defendant was supposed to be seen yesterday, but he was too intoxicated to be seen, so that gives the court an indication of how intoxicated he was.
Court documents show it is unknown if any of the bullets that were fired hit anyone or anything that night. Marion's bail is set at $100,000.
In other headlines here at 6:37, the pilot injured in a Tuesday morning plane crash in Dillon transported to the Missoula Hospital for treatment. Beaverhead County Sheriff Paul Kraft identified the injured pilot as 23-year-old Matthew Dixon Jr. of Bozeman. Pilot crashed a small Cessna while attempting to land at the airport about 9 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. Pilot first transported to Barrett Hospital and Healthcare in Dillon that morning. Federal Aviation Administration records indicate Dixon was certified as a student pilot back in August.
Well, the coronavirus pandemic has changed everything from day-to-day life down to how we hold annual celebrations. For the Jewish community, Hanukkah began last night at sunset. One Montana Jewish community leader says the pandemic has actually increased participation in Jewish events and celebrations statewide with Zoom and the internet.
I'm excited about it. I think despite all the hardships of the pandemic, for us in Helena, the Jewish people in Helena, the opportunity to have so many programs online has been a real boon. We don't have to travel, and you never know how the weather's going to be, especially this time of year.
Since the annual lighting of the menorah at the Capitol Rotunda is canceled this year, Janet encourages the Helena Jewish community to join in on the Hanukkah celebrations in Bozeman and Missoula. Congregation Beth Shalman in Bozeman will began holding celebrations online last night, as well as in Missoula. For direct links to those events, head to our website. And Belgrade School Superintendent Godfrey Saunders will be lighting the lead candle of the Grand Menorah this Saturday night. We are all invited. It's free at 6:30 p.m. at the First Security Bank at Main Street and Bozeman Avenue. Social distancing and health rules will be followed. Those gathered get donuts and chocolate and COVID-friendly packaging.
That's very cool.
Now that is festive.
6:39 now. Forbes has named its first-generation Indian immigrant and Harvard student as its youngest honoree in its 30 under 30 social impact list.
Ashir Karashi spoke with her about her mission to fight online hate, one message at a time.
20-year-old Trisha Prabhu is on a quest to build a better world by combating hate through technology.
It's something that's impacting millions of young people globally, and the consequences can quite literally be deadly.
About 20% of students ages 12 to 18 experience bullying nationwide. 15% of them are bullied online or by text. A former victim of cyberbullying herself, Prabhu says reading about a 12-year-old in Florida who died by suicide after being cyberbullied forced her to act.
It just absolutely devastated me. And I knew as a young person who had grown up in a world with technology and phones that I was uniquely positioned to do something about this, that, I could make a change.
At just 13 years old, she created Rethink, a patented technology that can detect hurtful or offensive messages by a user and force them to pause and think.
what if we're able to quite literally intervene in the decision-making process, right? And before someone hits send, go, whoa, hold on. What you're about to say could be offensive. Are you sure you want to post that?
The custom-built Rethink keyboard replaces the mobile device's default keyboard and can spot and flag aggressive messages. She tested it as part of a science project with 1,500 young people.
Seeing how young people behaved online on a social media-like environment when they had a chance to rethink saying something offensive, 93% of the time, young people change their mind.
The prodigy has given multiple TEDx talks about cyberbullying over the years and has spoken at schools around the country and world. Rethink has now been used by more than 5.5 million young people and has partnered with groups like Scholastic and the U.S. State Department. Last month, the Elevate Prize Foundation awarded Prabhu $300,000 in funding to help support her mission.
It really is just a matter of being conscious, right? Being conscious of what we're saying. Just a little bit of consciousness can take us all a very long way.
Reporting from Chicago, I'm Usher Qureshi.
Be conscious of what you say.
Be kind to everyone.
That's right.
Absolutely. You never know how someone's going to take it.
That's it. Great
All
job.
right.
Congratulations to her and her effort. I'm
Yeah,
sorry she had
she's
to deal
pretty-
with what she had to get to where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Yep.
Shout out to her big time. Well, when Montana This Morning returns, bees are amazing creatures. In fact, one species of honeybee has found a most unusual way to defend itself. We'll tell you how when we come back.
But first, we're going to head to the Big Apple for a look at what's coming up at 7 on CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, the government is now one step away from authorizing the very first coronavirus vaccine for emergency use right here in the United States. So we're going to look at how states are preparing for its arrival and efforts to tackle mistrust of the vaccine. Also, tens of millions of Americans are in danger of being evicted at the end of the month. Hear from some who are in jeopardy of losing their homes if Congress does not provide relief. And finally, late night talk hosts Desus and Miro join us to discuss their upcoming interview with former President Barack Obama and how the comedians are giving back this holiday season. We'll see you guys at 7.